This is part 7 of my 258 teardown and then rebuild. I'm doing a whole series here. So I've gotten everything off the block. The head, the camshaft is out, the exhaust intake manifolds and everything else. So now I'm working on the bottom end. I've cracked all the piston caps and I'm going to pull the pistons out now. I've already pulled out one just to kind of mess around with that, and I've flipped over the engine now just to show a little bit because I was messing around with it off camera a little bit. And let me just show a little bit of what I found here just by cleaning up a little bit. Again, it's super gunky. I did a close-up of some of it before earlier. Very, very dirty. I suspected something going on with the rings. Again, it ran pretty well. I showed a video early on of, I think in part 1 or at the beginning, of running the engine. The engine is responsive. It runs pretty well, but I knew I wasn't getting the power that I was expecting from a straight 6. So I suspected the rings. I did leak down tests and things like that. And it wasn't super bad, but it definitely indicated that there was some blow by going around the rings, and I wasn't sure what that was due to. But now I think I may have found what it is. So let me just kind of do a close-up of that. So you can see here, again, just a real quick review. Everything is really, really carbon caked on, everything else. And you can see I pulled out the first piston here. I did a little gasoline, a little toothbrush, and green Scotch-Brite cleaning on it just to see, because there was so much carbon on each of the rims here, each of these lips, that I had a hard time even getting this first piston out. And just as I suspected, you can even see it from here, really. I cleaned this all up, and there's definitely a ridge there that I get my finger caught on. So just as I suspected, there is, I'm probably gonna have to get these bored out. The piston itself doesn't look too bad. There's some I don't know, maybe some hot spots in there or something like that. And then at the bottom, I'm not sure I can get a good view of it, but at the bottom there, below the piston, I can feel it's a little rougher, and there's a really tiny edge or lip to it at the bottom there, but it's not, I can't get my fingernail caught on it. I think it's probably okay down there, but up at the top there, I'm definitely seeing a ridge. So that's piston number 1, and they all look pretty much the same. Again, that carbon buildup. Let's see if I can grab my light here. All along each of those top ridges. Again, especially on number 6 here, that's super obvious. Let me see if I can do this one-handed. Yeah, I mean, the carbon is there, but as soon as I clean that carbon off, I cleaned it off on number 5 here. You kind of see a little bit better. And again, this has the same. It's not quite as bad, but there's definitely some wear in there. And I imagine I'm going to find that after I clean up all the cylinders. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and finish pulling those out. And I guess at some point I'm going to pop out the core plugs. I'll probably do that near the end. I'm going to go ahead and replace those. Like I said, I've already cracked all these, so I'm just going to do a quick. There's a 1 on each of the main bearing caps. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 there. And then the main bearing cap at the bottom actually has a 7 on it. So that orientation will keep you from getting anything mixed up there, as long as you record what side they were facing on. Also, on the connecting rods for the pistons, I noticed that for these caps, there wasn't anything on there, at least nothing that I could see, and I wanted to make sure that I got everything oriented correctly. So again, while it's upside down, from the front here, I went ahead and put a tiny little punch over there towards that other side, and I guess that's the driver's side, but here it's on the opposite side since it's upside down. So I put 2 dots there, 3 here. You see I've kind of put 4 there, 5 over there, and 6 here. Again, just to keep track of exactly what orientation. I'm just going to try to keep everything exactly how it is. Maybe it doesn't matter for some of the pieces. I know the head bolts, you're supposed to mark all of those. Beyond that, I think you're supposed to try to get everything exactly lined up. I'm going to keep all the bolts and all the nuts here exactly how they were put on. So again, I'm just going to go through and finish off pulling the rest of these connecting rod caps off and the bearings. I got piston 1 out, and I'm just going to go over it a little bit, just some of the things that I saw in reviewing this. The bearings for the crankshaft, they're looking a little worn there, and I'll wipe that off just with a shop towel real quickly, but I'm seeing a little bit of wear in there. I don't know, you could probably polish that off, but with how inexpensive the bearings are, probably just going to replace all that. And then on the same thing on the cap side. So you can just kind of see some spots, some wear marks, some darker spots. Again, I could probably polish those out, but I'm probably just going to replace the bearings here. Easy enough and fairly inexpensive. The connecting rods look pretty good. I didn't see any cracks or anything like that. They look good. They move freely. Floating pin that moves well. No side to side mark there. No side to side play there. That seems good with the pins. But like I said, I'm probably going to have to bore the engine, which means replace the pistons. But the pistons look okay. The skirts, I don't see any cracks or anything in them. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Again, I could clean this out. The rings here, they seem a little, this top ring especially seems a little loose in there. Again, it doesn't matter a whole lot because I'll be replacing the rings regardless. But I'm just kind of curious what this looks like. I'm going to pull the rings off, and I'm actually going to check the end gap in the cylinder here just to confirm. It's supposed to be 10 to 20 thousandths ring end gap squared up in the cylinder here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there, square it up, and go ahead and measure that ring end gap. I don't have a large bore gauge, and I thought about buying one, but if I'm going to have this thing bored out and take it to a machine shop, I'm not sure what the point of spending an extra $40 might be and just, to play around with. But I mean, again, I'm pretty sure with this lip here, I'm going to have this thing bored out. And again, replacing everything here. I'll probably keep the connecting rods. There's a dot on the top ring, so even from the manufacturer it came like that, because again, I think these are original rings. And look at that, actually the second ring has 2 dots on it. So the second ring, 2 dots. Facing upwards on the piston. I imagine that they're all going to be like that. I got the rings out of there. There's a lot of carbon buildup inside where the rings were. They probably weren't floating as much as they were supposed to. And then I was mentioning about the play here. I don't know if that's, I guess that's pretty good. I thought it would be. I'm not really getting any side play, so maybe that part. It just seemed like this one was moving around a lot in there. So I'm just trying to twist it a little bit here and there, side to side. Really not getting any play. So that's good. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put the ring in. and check it out. I'll put it at the top because I know that's where the most wear is. That should be pretty squared up. All right, it's supposed to be between 10 and 20 thousandths. I'm gonna go ahead and pull out 20 and see what that gets me. There's 20 right there. Oh, it's way loose, very loose. Let's see how big it actually is. I'm not even sure. I mean, I'm sure it's at 30. Yeah, here's 30. Yep, 30 is even loose. Well, there you go. 36 is as big as my gauge goes. And it's probably more like 40 to 50. So that definitely is too loose in there. And again, it's cold, so it's going to should be on probably the higher side. That range from 10 to 20 is more along the lines of from hot to cold, but I would pretty much guess that cold, even 40 to 50 is going to be way out of range. So again, that just kind of confirms what we already did with the fingernail test, that this thing is too wide and has a lot of wear in it. So at least that confirms. I would guess down at the bottom it's a little less. So I'm just kind of curious because, like I mentioned, I can do my fingernail right here, but at the bottom I can feel a little bit of a lip, but I can't really catch my fingernail on it too much. So I'm going to go ahead and see if that's actually smaller like I suspect. Yeah, it's bigger than 20. Let's try and go 36. That's as wide as mine go. It's getting close. It goes in there, it's getting close, but it's definitely less wear at the bottom of the cylinder wall than at the top. And that, again, just exactly is confirmed by the fact that I can put my fingernail gets caught here, but not there. I can feel the little roughness, but fingernail isn't caught. So that pretty much does that. Number one cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and pull the rest of these and clean it up a little bit. And go ahead and check to see if I'm getting that same ridge across all 6 cylinders here, but I suspect so. I was able to find it on number 5. Again, all of them look pretty much the same carbon buildup, pretty consistent wear everywhere that I look, so I'm expecting to find the same thing. I'm going to crack all the bolts on the camshaft for the caps, and then we'll start taking those off too. Ooh, that last one with the main seal, rear main seal, it's got a nasty little groove in the bearing. So the crankshaft doesn't look too bad. I don't know, there's some wear in it, so it's going to need to get polished for sure. I don't feel anything in any of these. And the journals, and I will have to see what the machine shop says. Would really like to keep the crankshaft if I can, without doing too much to it. But yeah, that should polish out reasonably nicely. Alright, so there it is without the crankshaft in it. I decided to go ahead and pull it out just to show a little bit and take a quick look. The bearings down here don't look too bad. There's a little bit of scorching on them a bit, but I don't see any major scrapes or wear. I'm definitely going to replace all the bearings again. They're kind of cheap and easy to do, but they don't look too bad, which bodes well for the journals on the crankshaft. So I'm going to flip it over and take a quick look at the tops of each of the cylinder heads. I cleaned up a little spot on the facing edge just so I could get my fingernail in there and see if there's, that's, one seems pretty bad, 2 seems pretty bad, 3 seems pretty bad, 4 seems not quite as bad, but still, I can definitely feel that there. Get my fingernail caught on it. 5 I already looked at. Yeah, about the same as number 4. 6. I think 6 is similar to number 1. One's the worst for sure. 6 is kind of bad. Anyways, I got a nice little lip on all those. Like I said, I don't think in the bottom it's quite as bad for any of these, but there's definitely a lot of carbon buildup at the bottom end. All right, pretty exciting. The whole block is stripped down, got everything off of it. I still have the core plugs to do. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to show that or not, but I'll do that probably after I do the head. So I'll do one more episode. I'll pull apart the head. I've already shown a little bit about what that looks like underneath, but I'm going to go through it, pull the springs out, and take a look at the valves a little bit more closely and see what's going on with those. I imagine I'll be replacing them, having a valve job with the seats down. I'm not quite sure about the valve guides, but I'm not going to mess around with their valve guides myself. I'm going to let the machine shop do that. But I want to take a look at it and see what it looks like and see what kind of seal that I'm getting with the valves with the head off of it. So I'll go ahead and do that in another episode or 2 and show how that all turns. It's kind of nice to see. I was kind of happy to see the wear in the rings and the cylinder walls. You know, it's one of those things where I just didn't feel like I was getting the right power, and that confirms it. If I opened it up and everything was decent looking, and the rings look decent, and the pistons and the wear on the crankshaft and the bearings and everything look pretty well, I'd be wondering, well, maybe I didn't do the right thing. But this is kind of helping me decide that, yeah, I think I did make the right decision on pulling this apart. I think there is a lot more power to get out of it. We'll see what kind of upgrades I want to add to it as I go along, but I may be doing an intake, I don't know, maybe roller rockers, I'm not quite sure. Certainly an upgraded camshaft, but again, I'll talk to the machine shop about that and try to figure out what is going to get me some decent power. I still want to stay stock with everything. I know there's a lot of people doing the head swaps with a 4.0, and there's a lot more power with everything, but I'm trying to keep the basics, basically the head and the block, stock, and everything else, if I can upgrade that a little bit, that's fine. I do want to keep carbureted, so I'll have to figure out, I'll probably end up getting a new carburetor as well, but we'll see what kind of additional power we can get out of this. Again, it's just a daily driver. I'm not taking it off-road. I'm not going through hills and things like that. So anyways, like and subscribe if you want to continue and keep watching some of the videos. I'll be posting a couple more on the teardown in the next few days or a week or two, and then machine shop, and then when I bring it back, I'll be doing all the assembly as well. I'll break that out into a couple parts. I imagine that's going to probably go a little bit more quickly since I've figured out kind of how everything goes together now.